All right. So we're gonna do it again. Part two. Um, this is the guy. You
I'm
may
so
know
sorry.
him.
I'm so sorry. Um, yeah, I really apologize because you asked me to go on this podcast and I agreed. I sent an alarm that I thought was for a different alarm. I had private students in, and they came in at 2, and I thought it was just going to be for 2 hours, 3 hours max, but we were on our fifth hour, and I'm just really sorry. I apologize, bro.
Yeah,
I, I don't mean to disrespect your time or anybody's time who may have been looking forward to it. Just
it's all
my
good, homie.
my apologies.
It's all good. Glad to have you here on a Friday. I mean, this was like a harebrained idea that's been fomenting for a while, but like you had a post a while back that really resonated with me, and yeah, and it really spurned like let's actually talk about this because you and I have
Yes.
been talking about this for months, on and off and inside conversations.
Yes.
So why not make it official? So let's do this.
Let's
So
go. I'm
all
ready.
right,
I'm a little buzzed. I'm going to continue to drink.
that's good. It's all good. So the comment here, and I mean, I spent an hour just kind of talking about like prefacing
Sure.
with my situation, talking about the gym and the ultimate failure, but like the sort of all that is dealing with vicarious trauma, carrying the weight of information from your students, and compassion fatigue. So I went into my little definition about that, but Paulo, what is your definition of vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue?
Okay, we'll get into it. There's so much that I want to say about vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue. But I think just some human beings are compassionate, they're highly empathetic,
Mhm.
and you know what? Before I get into it, to define it, it's when you are overexposed to hearing trauma from friends, family, students. Some people are just the kind of people that other people feel safe offloading sensitive information to. And so, as humans, we hear these traumatic stories, we hear these tragic, sad stories, and it feels like we're just listening, but we can't help it as human beings. We're absorbing that trauma, right? So vicariously, we have these experiences that we have never lived through just because of who we are as human beings. Compassion fatigue, it's like it's just it sometimes it hits you out of nowhere, but it's basically this um, overwhelming feeling of negative emotions based on the experiences of others.
Yeah,
So that's what's your kind of definition of it?
that's a those are both great definitions. And like everything is internalized based upon our scope of understanding and perspective. Uh, I'll start with vicarious traumatization. Vicarious traumatization is in my case, is the weight of knowledge and
Mm,
allowing the weight of that knowledge to affect you as a person. And I often talk about like the window of tolerance and our capacity to carry all that weight of knowledge to a point where it's damning and it breaks us. Even and on top of all that, if our container, our vessel, our emotional capacity is already in a rocky situation where it's full of our own baggage and it's full of our own insecurities and trauma. And so our window of tolerance is so limited that when we take on the information of others, it spills over and can just explode. So that being vicarious trauma of like it's based on love.
right.
All of this is based on love and compassion because we're social and compassionate creatures. So we're willing to spend time with other people and share things because we care about them and care about the thing. Now, dealing with compassion fatigue, that is, or empathy fatigue, is this situation where you're dealing with so much knowledge, so much emotion that you have a certain level of tolerance that you can handle it all, and you hit that window of tolerance that and if it fails on you, just like muscle fatigue or
Right.
anything else. You only have a certain amount of physical, emotional ability before you're just done. You're tapped out.
Yeah.
So one
What is
is,
vicarious trauma?
yeah, vicarious traumatization.
And compassion fatigue. Yeah.
Yep.
Like at the lowest level, and for people who might have difficulty sort of understanding what the hell it is we're talking about, you ever have that friend that's just like a downer all the time?
Yeah.
Like anytime you
Yeah.
meet this friend, they're just complaining about something like that. And you ever notice that sometimes like you can only take that friend
Yep.
who's negative in doses, and you're like, I love this person, but every time I meet them, they're complaining about some shit.
Yep.
They always have something negative to say. And so on that surface level, that is like the tip of the iceberg for vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue. And it may be these trivial things, but at its extreme side, right? Like I did work with veterans with combat induced post traumatic stress disorder.
Yep.
And my job was literally to document this for them to trust me enough to film it, right? And to share this story. And so
Yep.
I had these moments where I'm like, okay, I didn't realize I was absorbing all this trauma. I was absorbing all of this pain and tragedy. And then I had the job to edit it and
Yeah.
add. And you know, the process of editing, it's a beautiful art form, right? Especially
Yeah.
if you get to direct it. But bro, I'm choosing music to highlight the gravity of somebody's emotional trauma so
Yep.
that a stranger can get a little bit closer to what that might have been like.
And
And
you're reviewing it over and
so over
over
and
and
over.
over.
And I know these people, they're my friends.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my keyboard was soaked with tears. And then the video would get released. And then I would read all the comments. And then it would just be
Yep.
like boom, boom, boom. And like my wife would tell you that I was not the same person. And I felt like a pussy because I was hearing about all of these like incredible, and I use that term fluidly, incredible stories of gallantry and heroism in the battlefield. And I'm finding myself crying out of nowhere, and I'm being a terrible husband, and I'm being, you know, short-tempered with my kids, and I find myself crying out of nowhere, right? Like I'm at a family gathering, and I just got to be like,
Hmm.
fuck all of this nonsense that's happening at the dinner table. You guys are talking about, you know, the cost of inflation, and oh, my commute sucks. And I'm just thinking there, like, fucking guys, like you guys, you know what I mean? And so I
Well,
began comparing the trauma of others with the everyday stuff, and I just became impatient with people, and I just did not want to fucking hang out.
yep.
And I, you know, I kind of I went into the inside of Paulo, and it was just on the outside, it was like I didn't care about anything because it was fucking all trivial. And I lost sight of just like the beauty of the small things. And because of this, it was like I couldn't find like compassion and kindness and caring for the little things because
Yep.
I always compared them to the terrible shit other people went through. And that's not a right way to do it. That's not. So I became just a horrible, miserable person to be around for most people. And
Yep.
then it was just a bunch of these fucking veterans and fucking cops and people who went through traumatic shit that I could find, like sit down with and be like, cool, this is, it felt comfortable. And then I realized that shit's not healthy, man.
Yeah.
Like I can't connect with regular people. That wasn't cool. So
Well, I mean, you get associated to a tribe and a comfort zone. It's the issue of anybody who goes and does a difficult thing, and it's typically the military. You hear this, but it's also true in law enforcement. It's true in medical. It's the whole experiential association thing of you weren't there, man. You don't know because you didn't experience it. But the fact is, if you experience it by proxy, by absorbing that information constantly, like in the case of let's talk about attorneys. or people who deal with medical reports of incredibly traumatic events. They're revisiting this information over and over and over, and they're intaking all that pain. And in a lot of ways, that pain turns to rage. Like in the case of me, dealing with a lot of the case files that I dealt with a lot of the kids that were coming to me by way of the behavioral health community and by way of CPS, and dealing with their home life and their case studies. I mean, the stuff that I was privy to made me angry
Yeah.
because I mean, for one, it's a protected group that
Right.
should be cared for no matter what. It's children, and when these evil things occur to them or these harmful things occur to them, I get mad and I get angry. And because I'm emotionally invested, because one, I was one of those kids. And two, I worked with a lot of these kids growing up and lived with them through foster care. And then dealing with it professionally and knowing, and this is that part about weight of knowledge and that issue of you feel not so much helpless, but you feel like you can't do anything about it because you lack the authority. And with that, you're carrying all that weight
Yeah, it's
of
that guilt.
knowing, yeah, and it's guilt. So, yeah,
Yeah, I did a video series for battered women's shelter.
yeah,
At the same time, I was doing combat induced post traumatic stress disorder, and it was just like, yeah, it was a lot. And um, psychologists, these folks are trained,
yeah,
right, to absorb it and to get rid of it. There's that, whatever that is, some sort of professional training. But I didn't know at the time.
yeah,
I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I've gotten better. I've gotten
yeah,
better now, transitioning into martial arts and having an appreciation and an understanding for people's trauma. um, I don't know. I just feel like everything that I've gone through was meant to be, and it leads me up to this point. And by the way, I want to discuss that. You kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier,
yep,
that primarily we think of combat induced PTSD from veterans. But look, man, firefighters,
yep,
paramedics,
yep.
911 dispatchers, people who work
Nurses,
in the nurses, right?
nurses,
And even like my wife works in insurance,
yeah,
right? Like she's reading these fucking case files and then she's seeing the motorcycle jacket that the
yep,
dude died in. So it's just, I don't know. I just have this appreciation that trauma affects different people in different ways. A good friend of mine who recently passed away,
mhm,
uh, her name is Rebecca Polsinelli, somebody that I worked with in the past. Her PTSD, she's a civilian, but she had a life event where she woke up in the middle of surgery,
yeah,
where you know what I mean? There's and
yeah.
you know,
Your brain isn't programmed to deal with that.
yeah, and so God rest her soul. But I hope she's listening. But it's just this idea that it can happen to anybody. Like we are
Yeah,
not designed to. But when you look at combat induced PTSD, like we're not really designed to be in fear of life for 24 hours straight because you're fucking
no,
pinned down under mortar attack and you're running out of food
yeah,
and you communicate, you know what I mean? So there are like extreme versions,
yep,
but it can happen from a car accident, a near
yep,
car accident, from hearing, right? Like, so it's just yeah, it's gotten me vividly aware, number one, um that you can't live your life on a comparative basis.
yeah,
Okay. And
yep,
this goes both, like we're so exposed to social media and all of these influencers who show their amazing lives, and you can really feel down about yourself and your
yeah,
life if you compare it to that.
right,
On the same token, right? Even within the ranks, so
yep,
to speak, right? Like one of the worst cases of PTSD I ever saw was from a combat cook, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They stayed in the fob. They never went outside the wire, but they saw a lot of shit whenever casualties were rolled in. So
Yep.
you just never know, and it's just like it's gotten me, for the most part, just a little bit more sensitive. Sometimes I can still be like, we're an insensitive prick, and then in the silence of my own thoughts, I'm like, oh, that wasn't very cool.
You got to compartmentalize it. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I still want to live, but I want to ask you, like, what are some of your tools, coping mechanisms, or do you just avoid it whenever somebody tells a story? You're like, fuck, bro, I don't want to hear that shit. Like,
well,
yourself, or have you found tools to still remain compassionate and empathetic?
yeah. So like in the first hour that you missed, I was rambling on about the end of the gym and giving a lot of context as to the end of the gym. And I'm not going to go back into that because it's been done and we'll do it again at some point later. But the big point about it is the things that I've really adopted in 4 years of serious therapy. Okay, I've gone through a lot of psychotherapy, trauma therapy. But the fact is, I'm coming off of an intentional overdose and suicide in 2019, and it was the culminating event of carrying so much weight and baggage of all the things particular to my students, my clients, my home life, all that compounding stress.
Yeah.
And I buckled because one, I myself was not ready. I myself did not have the strength and stability of base, having not spent the time to go through all that emotional work. Now, the cool thing that I say cool, but for me, it was a cool thing. Of the 4 years I was given the opportunity through COVID and life thereafter, is I've been able to spend a lot of time in therapy. I've spent a lot of time going through EMDR. I've spent a lot of time. I have some great medication, and on top of all that, I've adopted some principles that are very that can be used for others, but for me, they're important. One of them is brutal honesty. The reason for brutal honesty is it holds everybody accountable as to what I'm thinking, what they're thinking, and it eliminates manipulation. Because a big problem that I was running into was being a manipulator. Because I was trying to shuffle so many games to make success seem like success when the fact is I was failing. Because like the other side about vicarious traumatization is we get emotionally invested and involved and we want to help and we're crying at the dinner table because people aren't associated with what you're thinking is important. But the flip side of that is extreme narcissism. Like, look at me, look at all the work that I'm doing to help everybody. And that was the case with me with the gym, is I was doing a lot of things very publicly to involve the community and saying, hey, the gym is the place, the team is the place where we can help you through all those hard things, whether it's going through recovery, alcoholism, uh, trauma and abuse, combat trauma, all those things. At the gym, the Fight House program is the place. And guess what? Who's the person leading it? Me. And that was incredibly narcissistic. So, as a result of that, learning from that fact is I stand with brutal honesty of, hey, this is what I'm doing, giving disclosure to people who I let into my circle, my close circle, as to this is who I am, this is what I did, and this is what I'm doing moving forward. So, like it or not, that's where I stand. So the second part of that is having boundaries, clearly communicating my boundaries with people that I associate at a very personal level.
You tried to kill yourself, man.
Yeah, I did. I had an intentional overdose.
Yeah, was it I'm just gonna be frank, right? Like, was it a legitimate attempt?
Yeah, it was.
Or was it a cry for help?
I downed a full bottle of Oxycontin.
Fuck.
Yeah. Fortunately enough, the other side of that is I didn't have the balls to shoot myself. So, plain and simple. I had been dancing on it. So here's another one. And I talked about this in some other writing. I had been suicidal for months, actually years. I've been dealing with my issue of being bipolar and dealing with my own trauma, my own upbringing, and the things that I was involved with, especially being homeless. I was a homeless teenager at 17, 18 years old. I got attacked while I was homeless as a teenager, okay, living in my car. So there's some stuff in there. The army gave me a window to like adjust with stuff and find an identity and move forward. But the army itself, when I went active duty with the intention to go to war, that didn't happen. But that itself was not a good, healthy place to be for somebody who's trying to work through some shit. So trying to do that after the fact with the gym, still hadn't done the work. So I mean, I've had actually 4 suicide attempts, and the last one, I came to the realization with the idea of I may have to live in my car again because my wife and I were in the process of divorcing.
Yeah.
Okay, I was pressed with the thought of living in my car again. It's like, well, if if I'm here again, I'm done. There's no point because my wife had left me. We were divorcing. The gym was shutting down. All these things came to a culminating fact of like, well, there's no point. There's no purpose. I'm done. Fortunately, here's the other part about it. I failed at it. I love failure. Even failing at suicide, I love failure because you grow from it. And that is really hard to hear, but it is the brutal truth here is that that failure has given me the opportunity to start all over again. And the fact is, life for me has started over since 2019. My life moving forward is the other part about this is I'm so tired of living the way that I was living and feeling I was dying on the inside. So I made a change. And that came at the cost of killing what I was before. I mean, there's that phrase in Dune, kill the boy so the man can become. It's essentially what occurred to me. So, but hearing that, that knowledge alone is powerful and harmful for people who are not ready for that kind of thing. And this is where I find it interesting in the space that I am now online. So it's not about the FMA.
So, by the way, after all that, is it spelled Hubad with a U? And what do you?
Yeah, right, right.
Who fucking cares?
What cares is about we love a thing and we should be sharing a thing and being compassionate with everybody else and saying, hey, we're here, we do this thing and we're joined together because we love it. So let's share upon it. The hard part about that is when you share that thing with other people and get to know people, you get to know their stories, their circumstances, and again, back to that cycle, vicarious traumatization, weight of knowledge.
You know, a lot of people come into my circle just by virtue of what I do and, you know, being an influencer and all that shit.
Yeah.
You popped into my radar. We had some good conversations, and then you disappeared for a while. Right around COVID. Didn't know you're trying to kill yourself. But, you know, if I could pride myself in being successful at any one thing about what I've done is in finding and trying to support people who I feel have something to offer, whether that's in the tactical community, the way somebody thinks, maybe somebody articulate. And yeah, I noticed this about you, bro. And we've never met each other. I don't really know you.
No.
You don't know me.
I'm trying to get you to come to Alaska.
Oh, I want to go fishing, right? But I do think, for what it's worth, that you do have something to offer. And, you know, I'm not a fan of the rubber chicken. Sorry.
Yeah.
People are. That's okay. I can be frank with you, right? I got to be brutally
that's fine.
Because I actually think that you're way deeper and you have so much more to offer. And I feel like the whole rubber chicken thing is like a crux. I think it's a safety net. I think it is a way for you to be self-deprecating, even though I think you have a lot to offer. You're an intelligent guy. You have life experiences. You have martial arts experiences that can stand on its own merit. So what's up with this whole thing?
Well, I mean, aside from the very juvenile aspect of it, is very intrinsic to my sense of humor.
Okay, so it's authentic. Okay.
So that part alone is like it's a personality quirk with me.
Okay.
No, you're correct. It is a safety net because it allows me to diffuse a lot of the comparative tension.
Yeah, because FMA freaking sucks in so many ways. The community sucks in so many ways. And again, like I say stuff like this, and there's one of two ways. I say FMA sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Right? It's not perfect. There are things that can be improved upon. And then there's like the flip side of that where it's like, who the hell is Paulo? And, it becomes like this thing. But I get it. Like, and here, let's talk about Filipino martial arts for a second, right? Like,
we be both Filipino.
Yeah, we are both Filipino. Were you born in the Philippines?
Yeah, I was born in Angeles City. Mother was from Olongapo. My biological father's from Ilio.
Crazy. I was born in Lucena City. I'm Batangueño. I grew up in Las Piñas, Parañaque area.
Yeah.
But I think that Filipino martial arts instructors were kind of caught off guard.
Oh, yeah.
They were kind of caught off guard because it's like all of a sudden at a particular point in Filipino martial arts trajectory came social media.
Yeah.
And so people didn't understand because social media is kind of it's an equalizer in many ways, right? Like there are people who have a ton of followers who aren't as skilled as XYZ. I'm one of those people, right? Like I have a massive social media following. I'm fully aware that I'm not as good as this guy, this guy, or this guy. I didn't pay the same dues as this guy, this guy, this guy.
Yeah.
But I feel like, I bring certain things to the table. Now, there could be another Paulo Rubio type guy who just completely just utilizes social media to fabricate, a backstory and to sort of manufacture credibility and just destroy everybody, make a whole ton of money. They've got the Filipino Martial Arts University. They got the patches, you know what I mean? And that guy's going to get a lot of hate. So I think we're caught between navigating through the old school, which is backyard, small group, poverty. We don't charge our students.
Yeah.
And then we're caught between the commercialization, the monetization, the influencer. And somewhere in the middle is like this thing that's actually quite beautiful. Yeah. I'm very fortunate that Filipino martial arts is part of how I provide for my family.
Yep.
It's a passion of mine. But then again, I'm still relatively new. I started in, 2018 is when I started my physical practice. It started before that. So I get why some people are just like, they just can't stand me, man. Like, but at the same time, but by the virtue of the things and the logic of what I say, I get a lot of old school grandmasters who are like, who like message me privately or who even comment and support me.
Yep.
And so, and even for me, bro, it's a struggle. Like, to what degree do I remain completely authentic while knowing the rules of social media?
Yeah.
So that's, I would like to think that criticism and detractors don't affect me, but they absolutely do.
Yeah. Unless you're a robot.
Affect me, man. And so I try to, as much as possible, like, spread the love, but also I have responsibilities as a husband and a father and to make a living. But both sides of that equation, because like I'm firmly in the middle, it's going to be hated upon, right? The fact that I'm commercialized and I have sponsorships, people are going to hate on that. The fact that like I'm just trying to do everything, and now I have private students. I'm going to travel for seminars.
Yep.
I don't know.
And so here's the other part, because you've jumped into the realm of formally teaching as a means of income, for one, and as a representation of not just a lineage, but yourself.
Right.
Okay? With it comes an incredible weight of, I can't fuck this up, because if I do, I lose my income. And that right there is an incredible amount of pressure. And anybody who owns a business will understand this, that it's not so much the product, it's them. They are the business. Yeah. And when they fuck up, they lose money, period.
Yeah, and on the micro level, Do I risk offending somebody who has a following, who I would
Yep.
like to sell a knife to?
Yep.
Do I risk offending them for the sake of truth and sacrifice potential income for it? This is
Yep.
constantly what I'm doing. And for the most part, I lean on the side of truth.
Yep.
And I could be a whole lot worse just by trying to peddle to the broadest common denominator, or the
Yep.
least common denominator in some cases. But yeah, I don't want to do that, you know?
Yep. And
Yeah.
the thing you're also running into with teaching now, I mean, like, which is the crux of all this, is the weight, just the fact of you're now accountable for you are. It's one thing being accountable online vicariously by putting content out there and
Mhm.
people taking that information and doing whatever they're going to do. Now you are physically accountable for passing on information to a student that you've touched hands with, and they've come to you nascent and new to a seeking out answers from you. They chose you to give them, to shepherd them, to guide them through them. And
Yeah.
for a weaker person, that can lead to a power trip and manipulation and narcissism. But to a genuine good person, and this is where like that medium ground is, the coaches, the
Yeah.
good, they have an opportunity to guide somebody through that whole process. And in the process of doing that, they get to know this person really well and get to know their circumstances. And with that, you get to know their successes, their failures, their wishes, and their fears, and what led them to their why. And that's where I'm at now with martial arts is I start everything with what is the why? What is the reason? And of course, the why changes. And so dealing with anybody who comes into my life, whether it's martial arts or otherwise, I try to figure out what is the why so I can understand the boundaries and understand the level of truth that I'm willing to take on from them. And I
Can I say
wonder,
something?
yeah,
I so I wrote about this lady who is, in her mid to late 70s, who had
yep,
gone through trauma and has chosen me as her instructor. And I meet people who have all sorts of issues.
yep,
And this is going to come off the wrong way, right? But I decline the savior mentality.
yep,
I decline being their psychiatrist, their psychologist, their counselor. I decline all of those things to the degree of which that at the end of the day, okay, this is really important. They have to care way more about their journey than I do.
yep,
Okay. I refuse to take on the responsibility and the weight of somebody's trauma.
yep,
For the moment, though, I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to listen. I'm going to serve them to the best of my ability. But I refuse to let that weight become my burden. And
yep,
so the flip side of that is that it also prevents me from power tripping and being narcissistic and being egotistical, because
yep,
their successes and failures isn't really up to me.
yep,
It's up to them.
yep,
Right. And so, yes, I can be compassionate, and I will listen, and I will be authentic to myself, and I will serve you as best as you can. But at the end of the day, I ain't your daddy. I'm not your
yep,
savior. And so many Filipino martial artists just like love this idea that there's somebody's guru, and
yep,
not for me, bro. You better
yep,
care a whole heck of a lot more about your personal development than I do.
yep.
That's my philosophy. And
Because here's the fact. Because I mean, just talking about this, we get to learn that one, instructors are human. Just
yeah,
simple fact. And as a result of it, men or women, they are flawed, and often enough, they're survivors of being a train wreck. And the majority of the time, they are the cause of their train wreck. I, being point in case, and the reason for 99% of my nonsense is at the hands of my own train wreck. So why would anybody want to worship upon something like that as saying, "Hey, this is the person who's got the way"? That's ridiculous.
so you
Okay.
know how many FMA grandmasters are either current alcoholics or
Yep.
recovering alcoholics. They're on their second, third, or fourth marriages. Their
Yep.
finances are in shambles,
Yep.
right? They're flawed human beings, and yet they present this facade that they're somebody's life coach. How
Yeah.
ridiculous!
Yeah.
How ridiculous. And they're just all playing a role. Students with daddy issues and instructors with savior fucking complexes. And
Yep.
it's unhealthy, and it always ends up terribly.
Yep.
It can be good for a while. Student feels good. Instructor gets money. Instructor feels good. But it always crumbles. And I am not interested in that at all.
Right.
Not
Right.
one bit. Yeah. And I mean, damn, bro. The weight of responsibility you held carrying this gym, and I mean, it almost cost you everything.
It literally did. It literally did.
Not worth it.
No. And
No.
this is where I'm at with my life now. And talked about like means of moving forward in this space, having experienced what I've experienced and learned what I've learned. The things that I've really gotten to is I do stuff that makes me happy. I do stuff that doesn't come into conflict with my ethos and my integrity. I interact with those who I want to interact with that will show up for me, for one, emotionally, physically, all those things, but more importantly, will show up. And two, the relationship is reciprocal. Because here's the other part about post the gym is that I got so many comments and people trying to figure out, oh no, the gym is closed. How am I supposed to teach? How am I supposed to get my workout in? Who's going to teach my kids? This, that, and the other. They were more worried about the service and not about the situation or the person. And this is the case with anybody who's owned a business. When you shut the business down, how many of those people actually care about you, the person, versus the service? Okay.
Yep.
There's that. So with that, I only want to interact with those who are actually going to meet me on the same emotional playing field of I give you, give in return. Now I understand people are going to give to a certain level, but the fact is if I invest time, I would like to have that in reciprocation because it's a relationship that you're building with people. Now there can be service relationships, but as like we go into depth, there should be reciprocated across the board. So I want to do things that make me happy. I want to be around the people who make me happy and hold me accountable because I don't want to be subject to all that emotional garbage. Because just the same, like the friend who is constantly complaining about shit, it's also the friend who's constantly overhyped about things, and that also is a lot to carry. So, and you also got, and what's common to both of those, they're always the friends who come to you when they want something, versus like, hey, I would like some help. Can you reciprocate that back to me and make this as an even playing field? And what that I found is that circle is really, really small.
Super small. Yeah, it's so interesting, man. Because like think about all the things that are being balanced by somebody who's trying to make a living through the Filipino martial arts, right? They may have made promises to their grandmasters to propagate the art.
Yep.
They may be passionate about the art itself. It is their source of income. It is the
Yep.
primary source of their interpersonal relationships with other human beings.
Yep.
It has a correlation with how they deal and how much time they have with their spouses and their children. There's so much. And I think, I want to think about this. I mean, I understand and I get it. I get why people lose their way. And I get why people tell stories of heroism that make them seem more credible than they are. I get why. I mean, I know this one instructor. I'm not going to name him by name, but like he would do stuff like he would sell a bulk passport for private training, right?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay, so I mean, the students come to me, they pay me my hourly rate, right? And then they pay me right away. Then sometimes instructors are like, okay, well, you're going to buy 10 private lessons. Here's your punch card. Every time you go to a private lesson, I punch that card, but you pay it to me all at once, right?
Yep.
I've heard of students complaining about other instructors who are like, hey, I bought this, you know. And again, it's because they tell me stuff. People tell me stuff.
Yeah.
Like I bought this, 10 pack for private lessons, paid it all at once.
and they never showed up.
This guy canceled on me like the last 7 times, and now I can't even get a hold of him.
Yep.
And then it's like, you know, I get it too, man. You know, like maybe there's a miscommunication, but I don't know, man. It's really easy for Filipino martial artists to lose their way because there's so much hanging in the balance, right? There's so much hanging in the balance.
We don't have the history of some other legacy Asiatic martial arts to hang on. We just don't, because we are chartering the future, and we're doing it at all on social media. Because let's face it, the Japanese, Okinawan, and Chinese martial arts, that was already done a couple hundred years ago, and we're just carrying the water forward. Filipino martial arts, it is now being fought out all on social media, and we have an incredible amount of balance and honor for that, but we also have a lot of weight to carry.
And the crazy thing is that we can look and we can be like, that guy's doing it right. That guy's doing it right. He's running a successful business, but they're vilified. They're like, oh, he's commercialized. Oh, look at him. He's selling belts. And it's like, it's almost like we can't bring ourselves to learn from one another because we're so stuck in our ways. I'll name names, right? Like Datu, Tim Hartman has a brick and mortar Filipino martial arts academy that's been running for a really long time.
Which is awesome.
Right. Paulo Ladra also has dedicated, and he's got an online course. Tuhan Jared, you know what I mean? But a Filipino martial artist who doesn't have those things would be like, oh, he's overcharging, or he's only doing that for income. And it's like, bro, learn from this guy. I think there's a tendency in Filipino martial arts to, instead of want to learn from one another, is to compare each other's journeys, right? And identify where we might be proud, right? And then when that other person isn't doing it the exact same way, then it becomes a source of shame. So it's like, I do it XYZ, and I'm proud of that. He's not doing it XYZ, so he should be ashamed of that. And
right.
You know what I mean?
It's the crab pot mentality. How dare you succeed, whether it's getting out of the ghetto or getting out of the islands? It's still a crab pot mentality.
How dare you succeed? Yeah. But yeah, this going back to the topic of this conversation, you know, vicarious trauma and compassion fatigue. I wonder how I'm going to do as I continue. I'm trying to experience everything, right? Filipino martial arts. Like I'm fighting dog brothers. I'm fighting people from different systems. I got my online thing. I'm trying to be an ambassador for products. I have social media. Now I'm teaching in person. I'm going to do seminars. I want to do it all. I want to get the totality of experiences so I can speak with some level of authority through experience about them. But I wonder, like, if I'm going to experience like a catastrophic failure, I wonder if I'm going to be able to identify when I'm like, Paulo, you've lost your way. Like you're just completely in it for the money now.
Yeah.
I have no idea, man.
And the thing where I came to that realization, actually looking at it back retrospectively, the thing that I found is when I was more concerned about the gym and what people thought about the gym and being there for my team more than being there for my children and my wife. That was the point when looking back at things, that was the point, the time. Because let's face it, I spent more time with other people's kids and investing more emotionality in other people's kids than I did my own. I mean, in one light, I look at my children grew up in the dojo. They grew up in the gym. I have photos from when they were born all the way up of them just being in the gym. And I have a hard time looking back at a lot of those photos and videos of saying, hey, that's a beautiful photo of my kids doing something that they love and spending time with me. Because I get hijacked with this notion of all the other crap that was going on in the background where I wasn't making enough money. I was fighting with my wife. There was things, just all those awful things. And I can't be present in the moment of saying, hey, this is a beautiful moment in time and history and a memory. So looking back at all that too is, again, And that point, that line was when I was spending more care and emotional uh, resources on other people's children and situations versus my own. And that, as a suggestion from a friend, that is something to consider.
You know, there's a flip side to that.
Yep.
Um, we live in these modern times where, like, you know, dads spend more time with their kids and they're more involved.
Mhm.
Um, traditionally, historically, that was never the case.
Yeah.
You think about just overseas Filipino workers, their dads lived, you know, 11 months out of 12 working in Qatar or in Saudi Arabia. And their goal,
Albania. Yep.
yeah, they're or in the military.
Yeah.
The role of the father was to provide for their family. And now,
Yeah.
so I think we're being made to kind of like find this balance where we're more involved in the household, we're more involved in the upbringing of our children, but still being the provider, still fulfilling these traditional roles. So, like, for you, maybe you shouldn't look at these photos from that perspective. Maybe
Yeah.
you got the best of both worlds, right? Like, yeah, you were spending time and you were more invested in other people's development, but your kids were in the dojo.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know? And kids are incredibly resilient. You know this. You know this from your own friggin' childhood. Kids
Yep.
are resilient. And I think just like sometimes we can't do it all, man.
No. And here's the flip side of that. And I am a very unique and a unique situation. I am I'm fully medically retired. And so that gives me the opportunity to be home full time. My
Fuck.
wife and I have flipped roles 100%. My wife just finished graduating from nursing school. And so she is going that full route as a primary breadwinner. Caveat to that is I live off of my military disability. So it's not like I'm not bringing income, but I am. But what that gives me the time and the freedom. This is the best part that I've reframed
Amazing,
all that.
man. That's good.
I get
Fucking
to spend time with my kids
yeah.
and I get to spend time working on myself, parenting that inner child. So that means I get to go through all my therapy and all through that process. And I am a rare circumstance that allows for that. And I feel for all those. I have compassion and empathy for all those other men out there who are trying to figure out being fathers
Yeah,
by
rough.
parenting their inner son and having a hard time with it. And this is where I'm hoping with like conversations like this and the stuff that I want to put out there. The thing aside from the rubber chicken, but all the introspective like mindfulness stuff is really like let's help dads be dads
Yeah.
and talk about our emotions because the fact is we are emotional creatures. Let's just accept the fact that because we love FMA, that means it's based in love and we have emotions. Period.
You didn't
I mean,
take the lump sum. Did you get the lump sum option?
no, I have. It's not a lump sum. It's like living off of retirement, but it's a disability payout. So
That is, pardon the conciseness of it. I think that's great. I think the country owes it to you. And I think, yeah, there's a lot of veterans who receive benefits and feel guilty about it. Fucking live
yeah,
your life, bro. Like, enjoy that shit. If you can reduce, like, you know, your daily expenditures and it's
yeah,
comfortable, that is absolutely amazing. You paid your dues and live that out. Because then you get to explore Filipino martial arts and you get to be coach and you know, you bring something in, you get to spend time with your kids, get to support. That's freaking amazing, man. That's really good. Good for
it's
you.
the end goal. It is the great goal that the universe has given me a second chance at after 2019, and I take it upon like talk about a calling where Filipino martial arts instructors have like a calling to promise to their grandmasters. I have a promise to my children and my wife that never again. And and so with that, I and also a promise to myself that never again. And what that entails is doing the things that will only be genuinely better for us as a family unit, and hopefully some of the other stuff that I do will help others but not from the case of a commercial necessity, because that's the part that I find with the whole influencer culture is that they turn a thing that they're passionate about into a profession, and then they try to force that on everybody because they have that drive for the dollar. They have the drive for money, and
You
that's
know what's
hard.
cool for me? By the way, I gotta say then, I take it back with the whole rubber chicken thing. I like it now. So for me, the cool thing, the thing that I'm fortunate about is that content creation is my passion.
Yeah,
It's what I went to school for, making
yeah,
videos, telling stories. It's my initial passion. It's the passion that I've been consistent with and that it always brings me joy. So now that I get to stack that on top of my other passion, Filipino martial arts, then there's always like that safety net where, you know, I think something like 95% of my videos is really for non-monetizable end.
yeah,
Um, my wife probably should hear that, but it's because of my passion for content creation and making videos, and also like um, Filipino martial arts is a wonderful stage. I'm
yeah,
an artist.
yeah,
I'm a performer.
yeah,
I like the criticism. I like the praise, and I embrace that as an artist. So, am I an attention whore? Yeah, 1,000%. Like,
yeah.
what,
Aren't we all?
what artist doesn't, what musician doesn't want to play in front of the arena, and what actor doesn't want to have starring roles where they got a lot of eyes on them? So, I think that if there's any one thing that I can express to my critics is that that particular thing,
Except for them.
yeah, it doesn't hurt me. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, you're looking for attention. Yeah, man. I am. I'm an artist. I want to make beautiful videos. I want to make cool videos. Um, I want to express my art in the Filipino martial arts. And guess what? I also get to make it as part of my living. So that's the part that doesn't hurt. What actually hurts and what actually affects me is being misunderstood
yeah,
in terms of the content of the idea that I'm trying to express.
yeah,
It isn't the platform or the fact that I'm making videos. It's like, let the idea stand its own merit. And when I get particular kinds of criticism about that, I have to balance it because there's a lot of people that are just time vampires. And I get this, right? There was recently a thing on Filipino martial arts discussion where some guy got really upset that I disengaged with him in a conversation and then I
yep,
blocked
yeah, yeah,
to appease and protect their ego. They will say things like, oh, Paulo is just about performance. And when he's confronted with intellectual debate, he shuts them out. No, no, I do not shut down intellectual, civilized debate. I have never done that. What I do shut down is time vampires who I've made my point. It's
yep,
not getting through to them. They continue and continue. And then they turn the tide to like personal attacks. And I'm like, I'm blocking you, man.
yeah,
You're not entitled to my time. You're not entitled to my opinion. So peace out. And then they get offended and they write all sorts of things. And then the list of people that I've done that to, they all like to band together and then chitter chatter. And so, you messaged me, a bunch of people messaged me after that thread on FMA discussion. They're like, oh, like, you all right?
what the
I'm like,
hell? Yeah,
yeah, I'm okay, dude. Like, it comes with the territory. So,
it does. And what again, going back to that thing, if I only want to engage with those who make me happy and those who show up, because if you're going to steal emotional energy from me, if you're going to steal my time
yeah.
and cause, I mean, it's one thing to like you're challenging me intellectually, and that's good. But it's another thing like you're trying to dominate over me in a space that doesn't matter. Because
Yeah.
back to the thing about Filipino martial arts, it's art. I much rather tell the story about artwork because I much rather do about Filipino martial arts for the art side, the history, and the beauty of it, because I'm sure as
Yeah.
fuck not going to use it in war. I'm going to flat out say it. I
Yeah.
will not. FMA is, if I'm using FMA in war, I'm wrong because it's just
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. Straight up.
And so with that, I would like to be on the side of those who share FMA or whatever we do for the sake of there should be more art in the world than there should be more violence in the world.
Yeah. And the thing is, where I really appreciate dissenting opinion and really productive disagreements,
Hmm.
man, I have those people in spades. I'm surrounded by those people, right? I don't need it from a random guy.
Yeah.
Those are just time vampires. I have a lot of people who I consult with, who are my mentors, who are my coaches, who tell
Hmm.
me in private messages and sometimes publicly, like, hey, I don't agree with you. And we have meaningful conversation there. So it's not, again, I think people just have an overinflated sense of the value of their opinion, especially online. And
Yeah.
so when I give them the time of day to engage with them a little bit, they want more and more and more. And then when I shut them off, it's like, oh, he doesn't respect, like he doesn't want, intellectual discourse. I'm like, no, I just don't think you're providing it. And
Yeah.
now I don't like you. So I'm blocking you. Sorry, bro.
You are allowed to have boundaries. That's the thing about which is this issue about social media is that you are allowed to have boundaries.
Yeah.
You do not have the right to have access to me 24/7 and access to all of my information 24/7. And this is the problem that again led to like the ultimate issue with the gym is that I could never turn it off. I mean, any business owner can never turn it off. Period.
Yeah.
They're constantly worrying about the business, but it became more to the point that I was always available online to say, "Hey, 1 in the morning, here we go." I always engaged no matter what, and did not have the discipline to turn it off and saying, "Hey, I'm home. Leave me alone. I'm with my kids. Leave me
Yeah.
alone."
Yeah. Or in my case, fuck off. I'm blocking you.
Yeah,
And it's, I mean, it is what it is, man. It's funny to me sometimes, but maybe this is my fault as well, because I like to be personable and approachable and accessible.
yeah,
That when I give a little bit of that to people, they have a sense of entitlement. But you're right. I- I don't owe them access to the stuff that I put out. But
no,
it's so offensive to them when I block them. It's so offensive. And I get it. Nobody likes to feel rejected. But for anyone that I've blocked, and because you're seeing this on Coach Kurt's Facebook page or wherever this may be, I just want to say, fuck off. I really don't care.
or better yet, and on top of all that, it is okay to say no. It is
Yeah.
okay to say, "Leave me
Cool.
alone."
Yeah.
That is perfectly okay. We're
Yeah.
allowed to say that.
But also this. If we find ourselves in person in the same event, I will be the first to extend my hand and say, it's good to meet you in person.
Yeah,
Because I know that every disagreement online that I've had with people wouldn't have played out the same way in person.
right,
Right.
right.
So, I mean, there are some people who carry animosity and they want to like throw hands. Like, let's go. The rules are set. Go put on a fucking fencing mask and we'll go a minute and a half and we'll have people watch, roll all the cameras you want. If that's the route you want to take, I'm open for that as well. I'd much rather not, because I enjoy, fighting and sparring a lot. And I really don't like those kinds of engagements. I've had them, but they always end up great. They always end up with a beer afterwards anyway. So,
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to
yeah,
go through a little bit of pain, I go through a little bit of pain. Cool. It always ends up in the same place. I'd much rather circumvent that, shake your hand, give you a hug, and go, okay, what was that about? Let's go.
yeah,
I'm going to go unblock you now because, we have that. So online communications are like totally different. Um, but what I wouldn't want to happen is for people that I've had online disagreements with, we're at somebody else's seminar, a
yeah,
grandmaster that we both respect, and then our personal differences bleed over and affect the group. I
yeah,
I would much rather just step out, right? If your ego just refuses to, I'll step out. I won't disrespect somebody else's seminar because of some stupid argument that we had online. So I'll be the
yeah,
first to do that. But I also will be the first to walk up to you, shake your hand, and go, hey, you want to talk this through? You want to go have a smoke outside so that we can both enjoy this seminar together? If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
step.
and that goes to like that emotional intelligence and having the presence of mind to like turn off the ego
Yeah.
and it, and let's face it, a lot of people just don't know how to do that, and it's okay, but it's still sad. So
Yeah. I don't know, man. I've been through enough of it where it's like, dude, you paid money to be here. I most likely didn't. But I don't want to tarnish either of our opportunities to have a great time with these amazing people
yeah,
under the tutelage of this wonderful grandmaster because we had a disagreement about, you know, like the purpose of pressure testing. Stupid. No, I'll be the
or
first.
is it Hubud or Lou?
Yeah,
So
no,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I'll be the first to extend my hand, and I will. This is I think I have 100% track record. I'm the one who walks up to that guy because you see this guy, he's like this, and I see him looking at me, and he's like, "Oh fuck, just come up to you, man." I'm like, "Listen, come here. Let me give you a big hug. Let's squash this for the time being. We can talk about it over a smoke or a beer afterwards, but let's go learn this fucking grouping system together or
yeah,
whatever."
yeah,
Yeah, it's too easy, man. Too easy. Yeah.
sweet. Well, I don't know how much time you got. I mean, this was intended to be a short conversation, but I don't know how much further we want to play with this. And we've covered a lot of bases about dealing with vicarious trauma and uh, dealing with compassion fatigue. Uh, I think in the end of it, a lot of it is like knowing yourself, knowing your boundaries, and being mindful of that. And just
Sure.
the same with like time vampires is being mindful of how much energy are they taking from me and how
Yeah.
much am I allowing them to do that. And it's the same with taking on the weight of knowledge of others is like how much am I actually letting that affect me and
Yeah.
my health and wellness. And that is something that a lot of instructors haven't learned. And hopefully with enough good conversations, maybe by osmosis, just by learning it or by hearing it, they'll actually internalize it. But they need to hold the space and time to do so. So,
I
oh
think
well.
so. Oh, I did think about one more thing.
Yeah,
I think as Filipino martial arts instructors, like we love hearing stories of when what we taught somebody saved their lives.
yeah,
We love that.
yeah,
We feel good about that. And in close conversation with some Filipino martial artists, I've heard opposite stories where it
yeah,
cost somebody something dear to them.
yeah,
And so it's just like, I suppose, like again, it's that it's I can't internalize that. If I taught somebody something
yeah,
that cost them, I can't bear that weight. Just as if I taught somebody something that saved their life,
yeah,
I can't carry all that glory. It was them who did it. It was them who lived through it. It was
yep,
the work that they put in. I'm just a vessel for knowledge and it passes through. What you do with it is on you. Um, you know, in social media, it can be very alluring to get praise from people,
yeah,
likes, shares, kind words. And, one of my mentors was like, hey, you need to assess the quality of that praise and not let it get to your head, just
yep,
as you need to assess the quality of criticism and not let it bother you. Because it's easy to get sucked into the likes and the shares and the analytics. Very, very easy.
yep,
And so, I sometimes I tell people who I really respect, and I'll, for the most part, private message them, and I'll
yep,
say something like, "Hey, listen, one of you is worth 1,000 of them." And so, be mindful of what feeds your dopamine, right?
yep,
Especially if you're going to be on social media, man. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to criticize you and who are going to praise you, and the quality of that individual matters.
yep,
Yeah. And
yep,
on that, I think you have a lot to offer and you have a lot of um, exploring and growing up to do, and growing up to do in terms of finding your own voice and
Yeah. Yeah.
what is this friggin' Fight House Talks thing versus this Coach Kurt thing, and now you're sharing on FMA discussion. Continue to explore that, continue to paint and share your FMA, because I really do think that you have something of value. And then when you lock into that particular style, that particular presentation, it's great that you don't rely on it for your livelihood, but that doesn't mean you can't go full steam ahead, right? If you see something that works, pursue that thing. If you see something that doesn't work, approach it with the same care and consideration as if your livelihood depended on it. But because it doesn't, you're gonna have your true north, and you're gonna do so good. You're gonna do great things.
Well, I mean, it's the fact, and thank you as always.
No,
And it's the fact of like mindfulness and intentionality, because the fact is, anybody's going to spend the time to look at the meme, look at the video, they'll
no.
listen to a podcast. That's time they're never going to get back. And I have to be ever presently mindful of that.
Yeah,
And so the intentionality behind that, it has to be of good worth and value, because there's so much stuff out there.
yeah, dude.
And
And
I don't want to,
go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry.
No, just like I said, there's just so much stuff out there. And I don't want to be part of the category of over inundating.
You're not a part of that, though. You're doing
Yeah.
your own thing. I get what you're saying, but screw all that. Who cares if there's a million FMA videos about XYZ? It's for you.
Yeah, it's true. True.
Who
I agree
cares?
with that.
What do you mean inundating, bro? There's no such thing. There
I
no.
should I should specify more or less, like there is a lot of stuff out there trying to sell a product.
We're all trying to sell something.
Exactly. What I would like to be is I would like to share experiences in the hopes, just like any other coach, any other teacher. I would like to share the experiences of all this time spent gathering knowledge, being growing resilience, and there's got to be a purpose behind all the pain, period. And whether that is to share information so somebody can learn from it,
Mhm.
or process it out there so that people who matter, who understand the context because it affected them, they'll have an understanding as to, hey, this is what happened, this is what was going on. And in some mediums, people just don't have an opportunity to sit there and have a conversation with those that they wronged privately. So this is an opportunity to publicly say, hey, this is what happens, this is what happened, and this is what I'm doing now. It's like going back to those photos about my kids, I'm making new photos, sharing new things with them. And
Amazing.
on top of all that, stuff like this, what I'm doing now is I'm hopefully, just like the rest of Filipino martial arts, is documenting a process so the next generation can learn.
That's right.
And in the case of my kids, so they can understand and learn when they are at an intellectual, emotional capacity that they can hear what I'm saying, process it, and get that, okay, I get it. But if they don't, it's okay too. But at
Yeah.
least the information is there for them to participate in and partake,
Right.
and hopefully that will stand on its own. And it's the case with anybody else with what they put out there. Is it is there to document what we do, and that accountability as well is that there's the accountability of time and effort. So, and being mindful of that is an ever growing process. So,
So let me introduce a thought here real quick, right? So
yep,
certain words carry connotations,
yep,
right? Commercialization, selling, marketing,
marketing, yep,
right? So given all of what you just said, if I frame this question to you and I said,
mhm.
Kurt, what are you selling? What are you marketing?
Process of recovery.
That's fine. Right? You see what I
Yeah,
mean?
yep,
Right?
yep,
It's about how we interpret these things. When I say everyone is selling something,
yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
mean like check out the El Pionero by Tops Knives and the Hugin Black Fox. We're all selling something. We're all marketing something,
Yeah.
which are just words that carry negative connotations that mean the same thing. We're all trying to express a message.
Yep.
We're all trying to be understood and be heard. Right? So,
Yep.
Kurt, what are you selling, bro?
What I'm selling is, yeah, I'm still trying to figure that out. Let's just put it as that. But what I'm leaning toward is helping people understand a process of resiliency and pain, that there's purpose behind pain. So, and I'm willing, rubber chickens and everything, to be that option for people to say, hey, look at this example of success and failure. Because I have a strong sense of self now after the fact and all the work I've done. I have a strong sense of now of what I can do and that strength. And I'm hoping through an example, hoping through that somebody else can see, hey, they can do it too. There's a purpose behind it. Because I mean, it's storytelling. We all love stories, and I have some stories, and they're not about valor, but I have some stories, and I'd like to share it with people. And hopefully, people can get insight out of it and get something of value out of it.
So, what is your currency, if not cash?
My currency, if not cash, it's time. It's time.
So, you're selling your experiences and a message, and people pay you back with their time.
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think that's beautiful. I think, and this is what I mean, right? Sometimes these words are bastardized. They carry negative connotations, but if we boil it down, Coach Kurt is selling or marketing, or in better terms, in more appropriate terms, is wishing to share and communicate his experiences so that it can help other people. And what he would like to return is their time, whether that comes by communication, mostly communication, right? So then no matter what we do, there is an economy. Like there's an economic model, a supply and a demand. There's a currency, and those things will change, right? But I do hope for you, and I don't know why. Like I do hope that you get to experience some of, because I think you're well on your way, right? Like to sharing your experiences for people, learning from them, and for them communicating with you, right?
Yeah.
But hey, shit, man, I'd like to buy a T-shirt from you also.
Yeah.
Like if you came up with a knife, I would buy it. Like if you had an online course, I would support that. You know, not that that's important, but also it's an extension of this whole idea that we want to communicate, we want to share, we want to be understood, and we want to get communication back. One of the most painful things I think for human beings is being misunderstood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super painful.
Here's a fun bit of being misunderstood. I'm adopted. Okay. Straight up adopted. And even though I immigrated from the Philippines in '89, I was raised in America, raised by white people. So like being misunderstood standpoint of I don't truly belong necessarily to any sort of cultural ethnosphere. So when I meet up with other Filipinos straight from the islands, because I don't speak, I get mistreated. And everybody else, I also get like this whole lack of representation. So I get stuck in this middle place of I don't belong and I'm misunderstood. And this is something I'm constantly working at. And I know the diaspora of the Phil-Am, or I should say, Filipinos outside of the islands have the same issue. I mean, yeah. And that right there is and this is where social media can be a beautiful place to like saying, hey, I can express, even though I was born back to the islands and raised this way, but here's the context.
Yeah.
And telling that story. So.
Yeah, I really don't like Phil-Ams. Or I shouldn't say that. But there was a point in my life where I really didn't like Phil-Ams, especially Filipinos who were born in the Philippines and their parents immigrated to the United States while they were babies.
Yeah.
But then I have more sympathy, right? Like for this, because I left the Philippines when I was 9. and I grew up in Canada without family, and so I understand some of the negative ways that can manifest, like a misguided search for identity,
Yep.
clinging on to specific cultures and norms that other people may not expect of you, right? Um, and there's also that whole maya. You know what mayabang means?
No.
Mayabang is kind of like arrogance or show offy. So
Okay.
whenever
Yeah.
so whenever somebody like would go back to the Philippines and they were raised in America, they have this like mayabang attitude, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, in America we don't do that, and it's like, bro, you're in the Philippines, you're Filipino, like,
Yeah.
calm down. Um, but yeah, do you remember the Philippines? Do you have memories of the Philippines?
I remember blips of it. What I remember is smells. So like Baguio. We spent a
Oh,
lot of time in Baguio. So like living in the Rockies, like living in Utah, I have a strong
yeah,
connection to the pines there. While stationed on the East Coast in the Carolinas, the pines there. Living here in Alaska with the coastal pines, it's that smell of pine needles. That
right.
is probably the strongest sense of like home that I have.
Well, there's a thing,
But I
right? Like
yeah,
smell is the thing that ties us closest, most tightly to memory. So you
yep.
remember the smell of the Philippines, do you?
Yeah. Now the other part that I've run into is I also have flashes, and this is coming out of like EMDR and therapy through trauma. Is I also have little flashes and pings of like dealing with a coup attempt, like going through dealing with some of the gun battles that my dad was stuck in during the coup attempt against Marcos. So I mean that stuff pops up. So I
Do you remember
try to like
your dad and your mom and
I'm
inside
so um
your brother?
biologically I'm an orphan in all intents and purposes. Come to find out,
So
my
even,
biological
so even your parents in the Philippines weren't your biological?
no.
Is that what
So I was adopted. So my parents are white. They were stationed at Clark Air Base back in the 80s.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, so even you weren't adopted when you somehow arrived in America. You're adopted by white folks while those white folks were in the Philippines.
Yep.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a
That's a fun one.
crazy story.
Well, here's a fun part about that. Come to find
Wow.
out, my biological mother was a prostitute
Okay.
and
Well,
doing
you were
23.
Angeles City, right? That kind of makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, and apparently I was born in a brothel. Go figure. But doing 23andMe, I have reconnected with a lot of like biological family because the narrative that I had told myself and accepted was that I'm an orphan, move on, I'll probably never meet any family, period.
Yeah.
My in-laws, Christmas a few years ago, set me up with 23andMe. I sat on it for a year, finally did it, and now I've met so much family as a result of it. I've yet to meet like siblings, but I've met so many cousins in the process of it.
Do you know if your mom or dad, you know if your mom's still alive?
No idea.
No.
Closest thing I have is like a third cousin, but so does everybody else. But the majority of my cousins that I have found are from Ilio. So
That's good. And so you have, I mean, you have no idea who your dad is. Like you can't
no.
even begin to trace that back.
I mean, I have like general DNA tracing, but I mean, names, I don't have
Yeah, but
anything.
you're Filipino, bro. Like that's gonna be impossible. We're
Yeah.
all. That's a freaking interesting story. That's a really interesting story. And the
Yeah.
scope of potential life experiences, that's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Can you see it that way these days?
I
That you're
do because
almost like
they're,
a
they're,
gift. You know, can you see the positive?
oh, absolutely. The way,
Yeah.
again, 4 years has allowed me the opportunity to sit there and like think
For you.
through things positively and reframe like all of that
Good.
pain has now had a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
It's given me a lot of insight in saying, hey, turn off the negativity, accept what it was, but
Yeah.
I'm in control of what I have now
For you.
and move forward with it and reframe that so I can heal that little boy and so I can be that man. So
And then Filipino martial arts, like, is that your daddy too? Like, what's going on with that?
yeah, so here's the fun part. I've told this story a couple times, and I still get sideways looks from it. So the Filipino martial arts came to me two ways. One, because my adoptive family, my father, mainly my grandfather, so his father was a World War II Marine Raider with the Second Marine Division, did campaign all throughout the Pacific and came back. Somewhere along the way, he picked up FMA, mainly single weapon, single knife. Okay, taught it to my dad, taught it to my uncles,
Who are
not to
white?
me, who are white.
That's
Okay,
dope. That's
but
amazing.
no names, no cultural references,
Oh
just
my
straight up
god.
here's knife play. I go to a Kyukido, it's like a Hapkido school in Utah, and there
Yeah.
happened to be a modern arnis black belt there who was one of the cadre, Filipino dude, saw me playing with sticks, swords, and shit like that, and it's like, oh, you're Filipino, I'm Filipino, you must know FMA. It's like I have no idea what you're talking about.
Hey, hold on, hold on. I want to do a separate podcast about this. This is a really good
Yeah.
story. Can we
Okay.
do that? I'm
Yeah.
like, this will be called like the most interesting FMA journey ever. You
Yeah.
were taught FMA by white Americans fighting a war in the Philippines who adopted you.
Yep.
That's and then when you came to America, that's a really amazing story. Is there any way, like, is your uh adoptive side of the family, your dad's side, are they alive? Like,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
so you can kind of trace it back, like where he learned it from. You can ask him questions,
Yeah.
and then you can put A and B together. There's some great Filipino researchers on FMA discussion that can be like, okay, so my dad's dad, my grandfather was fighting in this war,
Yep.
but he was stationed here, right? Okay, where is here, and what were the Filipino martial arts systems that are likely, so you could find out your FMA origin.
Yeah, I would love to. Here's the other one. So, just by flavor of what I've taken in and by movement, I have been told that I move like a Sayok,
Ah,
but I have no idea what that means. I mean, I've
ah,
observed Sayok, but I also been told I play with PTK, which honestly I have been for like 10 years, but not lineage. But the fact is, it's all human movement. I just like
right.
moving the way that I move. So,
Yeah, by the way,
putting a
if you move
label
like
to it,
a psyop, you move like a PTK guy. Because
yeah.
anyway, long story.
So like putting a name to it is just like, dude, I don't know what I do. I have a knife and the knife works this way. So
But did you ever like take any formal study, like the modernist guy? Did you learn from that modernist guy?
yep, I learned from him for about a year. And then of course like the stuff I've picked up over the years in general from like traveling around with the army and just moving around. Like my true lineage, when people need to find out like who I actually belong to, because that's another problem I run into, because I don't belong to any specific flag.
Uh-huh.
Belton has really made me, or not maybe, he's really suggested that I really need to like emphasize the fact is I'm one of his guys.
Are
So
you?
Belton Lube, yeah, I am.
It's really like,
So,
I like that guy.
well, you know,
I'm just
he's
joking.
off the,
I love Belton. Belton's my homeboy. I'm just joking.
yeah. So by way of him, I'm underneath him for Balintawak and Asai. I mean, I'm going to be down West Coast
And
and Water and
researcher
Steel this
under
fall.
Grand Tuhan Leo Gahe. So Belton is an instructor at NSI under Datu Kelly Warden. He's a level 7 under GM Bobby. And he is a Tuhan under GT. So you're Balintawak, NSI, PTK.
But things that I'm formally specifically training underneath Belton as of currently is Balintawak, because I'm just trying to figure out Balintawak because I find it fascinating.
You do not. I have not seen anything from you that looks like Balintawak.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Balintawak is an important pillar in the totality of FMA.
Yep.
But what I appreciate most about GM Bobby's Tabora to Balintawak is the structure. The structure is the best. The structure of how students rank up, what they're required to do, the refinement through all levels.
Yep.
It's the best. But I've never seen you do anything Balintawakish.
Well, I don't post it. That's basically what it is.
That's why I've never seen it.
Because Cooper and I mean, we're playing through block and counter, but it's very sloppy because we're both still trying to figure it out from distance. So there's that. But
wait, what do you hold on? You're trying to figure out Balintawak from distance?
Yeah. So
happening.
Belton, yeah, it's
you need PTK with your Balintawak for that.
Well, and this is why
explore Balintawak from like Largo.
No, what I'm seeing by distance is like distance learning, I should say.
Oh, I thought you meant range.
No. The problem I run into with range is like turning off everything else in my brain and saying, hey, stay in Balintawak mode. That's a hard thing. But like online training, that's hard.
Belton's really
When
good at that. Belton's really
he is
good
really good.
at compartmentalizing and
Yeah.
integrating. The true genius of Belton, I guess. Well, I guess it goes hand in hand. The true genius of Belton is that he can study Balintawak with Gia Bobby
Hmm.
and not have his NSI and Pikiti corrupted. And he can learn Pikiti Tersha, all right, and prevent the Balintawak and NSI to corrupt that particular practice. And then he integrates it, and then
Yep.
that's the genius of Belton. You're very fortunate to study under Guru Crew Tuhan Belton.
Croach. Yeah.
That's my man. That's my man right there.
Yep. Man, we've been rambling at this for an hour and a half.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Oh, yeah.
Let's set our boundaries and say goodbye.
I appreciate you as always, my friend.
Of course, brother.
Everybody, thank you for joining us, hanging out for us for the second time. And yeah, we'll do more of this in the future. But yeah, we'll figure it out. But yeah, thanks everybody.
Hi, Coach. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, homie.
Awkward silence before it goes offline.